Sure. Hi, welcome to the Top M&A Entrepreneurs Podcast. I've got a guest, Mathew Wainwright. Mathew is a partner to Paul Seabridge, and they do deals together. So, Mathew, welcome. You're from Spain, right?
Yep. Thank you very much, John. Very excited to join the conversation. Yep. Currently in Spain.
You're a very young guy too, like 23, 24?
23. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys partner with Seabridge. Seabridge has done like what, 60 deals or something, or
65 right now, I believe, at the time of
do you
recording.
have any idea what that represents in dollar value or so?
Yeah. So revenue-wise, around 250 million.
Sure.
That's with own money, so it's not going external. Obviously, you go for like bank borrowing, normal bank debt, and so on. But yeah, around 250 million in revenue. And we recently acquired UK salads to it, so that's going to add another 50. So I'm not sure whether that's going to go to 300 or even further. So
Salads and tulips. So is this a produce or grocery or just farm? What is it?
So it's pretty much lettuce, tomato, peppers. They're distributed all around Europe. UK supermarkets need that kind of food and that kind of food in their supermarkets. And where as UK Salads as an entity, we wholesale that over to the likes of Aldi. And we're trying to open accounts with Tesco. I'm not sure whether you guys have.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Tesco. Yeah, that's in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're super big supermarkets and supplying around 85% of the supply for Aldi in the UK and in Germany. So it's quite a lot of volume, I guess, in salad.
Yeah. So let's go back how you got started in M&A. Now, you guys, from what I understand, you guys went to a same course together. What was that course? That was from one of the big name guys.
Yeah, so that was through Jeremy Harbour. I learned a lot. It was a great course to, especially really early in my career. I was like 19, 20 at the time. Thought I was a big boy now, so I wanted to do M&A. And then realized that there's so much to learn. So that gave me a very good foundation on how to approach, I guess, the M&A world from a newbie point of view.
Well, let me ask you, what were going through your head at 19, 20, and said Mathew said, hey, I'm not going to go the traditional route, which is go to school and get a job. I want to go start businesses, buying businesses and working above. Where did that thinking come from?
I think from like an extremely young age. I was the typical guy trying to sell stuff at school. Very, very, very curious about business. Always thinking about like different ways of approaching different markets. Just very, very interested in business in general. I saw that the 9-to-5 thing was going to pretty much, not be my thing at all. Just because there wasn't the passion behind it. You weren't going to be exploring new avenues. You weren't going to have the freedom to make your own choices. Although, as a business owner, you're quite restricted with other things, right? It may not be time, but it may be resources. It may be capacity to attract new people and so on. Overall, I just couldn't think the 9-to-5 thing could be an attractive way to move forward.
Is that something that your parents instilled in you, or was you just offshoot of something different? I mean, everybody's read the Richard Branson stories. I think I've read 3 of Richard's books, and everybody follows him. And he's an incredible entrepreneur. Acquires businesses, etc.
I've always been a very big fan of Richard Branson. Lots of entrepreneurs in the UK, in the US as well. I just really liked the adventure behind entrepreneurship. Personally, my dad went down the corporate route, so he went up, through a company called Microsemi, became the vice president there, saw the time restrictions and the location restrictions that a job gave him, and I saw that I didn't want that for myself. and then my mom is a teacher. So really, the entrepreneurial thing has come more through myself and more through me than any external parties. Although my dad did.
When they ask you what you're doing, did they just say, "Well, you better get a job"? I mean, you better,
I mean, definitely at the beginning, it did become a point of where there was a lot of discussion happening, a lot of arguments, until you bring results home, right? Then then it's good.
It's like, oh, okay, great. I was like, It's like we're talking about Paul McCartney. Just imagine, like, hey, Dad, I want to be a musician. Oh, musician? How are you gonna ever make money? Paul McCartney's a billionaire, so.
Exactly. No, until you make it, right? Like until you start living for yourself, then the talk starts to become reality at the end of the day.
So Paul Seabridge, now, did he get started before you and you joined him with him as partner? And how did that go?
Yeah, so Paul started a recruitment company. He started very young as well as an entrepreneur. I think it was like 21, 22. From there, he started a recruitment company, sold that in 2010. And he started using that capital to acquire more and more businesses. Initially, I think over an 8-year period, initially he started acquiring a business a year, so just one per year. And then once he did the course on M&A, that's when he pretty much went, monastically focused on acquiring more and more companies towards the rate that we currently have, which is 16 companies per year. Which is
16 companies. You've already acquired 16 companies, or the goal is 16 companies per year?
So last year, we acquired 16 companies. And this year we're on track to do pretty much the same numbers.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Now, so how does that deal set up? Like, normally somebody's good at one thing, and the negotiation, and another person's good at the creating deal flow. What does that look like?
Yeah, so there's when I started, I thought I could do everything, right? I thought you could do deal flow, you can then negotiate, and then you can create the deal structure, you can negotiate that deal structure, and then you can close it and then operate it. So there's like so many different
buckets. It's like,
there's so many different buckets that you need to learn. That you ideally you need a team of 4 to 5 working on M&A within a firm, right? One doing the deal sourcing, one doing the negotiation, kind of like prospecting. Next one, structuring the deal, and then closing operation. Where personally, if you want to know, my focus is on the negotiation side of things and the deal structure side of things. We've got a person doing the deal flow that generates around 600 opportunities every single year right now. And then Paul will do the closing and then the operational side of things together with the management team of that company.
Do you guys, is it you guys working together and how your structures as a 50-50 or 25-75, or what does that look like?
In terms of equity split wise?
Yeah.
So I currently, for every deal that I work in with Paul that I get introduced to, I would get 15% equity stake inside that company.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be kind of like split between different partners from there.
Oh, so you have some other partners that are good at some of those buckets than others, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then from there, if I were to source a deal, then I would get more. It depends on the value that you bring towards the deal at the end of the day.
So what do you find an affinity for, or like doing? Sourcing the deals, or negotiating, or integration, or what?
I personally love talking to business owners. I love seeing where they're at. Sometimes you speak to 50-year-olds that have built €100 million or revenue business. And other times you speak to others that are looking to retire and move on to another venture. So it's extremely exciting to see where people are at in their business life cycle and what their experience has been building up that business. That's really, really exciting for me. Now,
is any pushback? I mean, if today you're doing a lot of Zoom calls or phone calls, like, hey, what is a 23-year-old asking me to buy my business for 100 million. Where's that coming from? Yeah.
Um, so that's a strange one. I've only had one person reference my age, actually. So, and that was a UK broker in the US who wanted kind of like a Paul or Goran, who's the other partner, to join the call to make the offer. But apart from that, it's been okay. It's about your confidence, I believe, and I found it's about the way in which you pitch and the way the confidence that you've got. Nothing.
So
Nothing else.
how do you approach a business and you open a discussion with the executive, the owner?
Yeah. Initially, we would send in an email. I would send an email or get introduced to him by email. Take that to a Zoom call. Within the Zoom call, we would just try and create a bit of rapport. So try and generate the conversation, relationship happening, getting to know each other. And then we would focus on kind of like where he's at in the business life cycle after I make my own introduction, and then take it from there. Really, it's
the kind of a script. Is you're saying the same thing to everybody, and the key is like when you're saying something, you are starting to identify. I want to sell signal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've got my own pitch going on every single time I talk to business owners. So it's kind of like telling our story behind how we founded the business. So Paul sold his recruitment business, and then he started acquiring more and more companies into what we are now. So we've acquired we've got a portfolio of companies, different industries, and so on. And then from there, I would try and tell them, look, we partner with two types of business owners: those that are looking to exit their business, and those that are looking for that additional growth engine that could come inorganically. So that's the type of business that we focus on. So I'm pretty much trying to identify whether they want to grow or they want to sell.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to grow, we've got this partnership where we'll go 50-50 equity split wise on new acquisitions with the business owner himself, where he would bring the operational side of things and we would bring the capital, resources, due diligence team, M&A team to make that acquisition happen. And then
another acquisition on top of his business.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yep.
Do you bring in any like marketing for organic growth, or do you say, a lot of these companies are, well, you're going to get, maybe 10 or 15 at the most, 30% growth, spending X amount of money, or it's better allocation of capital if we just acquire a business and double the size in a year?
Yep. So pretty much both. We've got an equity stake inside a marketing company. So we're utilizing that pretty much as your business partner. Roland uses for he brings in the marketing side of things to bump up the sales.
Yeah,
we've got that already implemented if we wanted to. Sometimes what we found is that if you grow through sales, so like organically too much, then you tend to stretch yourself too thin on the the working capital side of things. So acquiring a new business is kind of like a value hack, right?
Yeah. So how does that structure look if you come on it with a new business and it's a $50 million business? Mm-hmm. We'd like to acquire 50% of it. Did you say?
So on new acquisitions,
yeah,
if you were to partner with the business owner,
to partner with the business owner and grow through M&A. Yeah.
And those new acquisitions would go 50-50 with the business owner and ourselves.
Yeah. And the executive stays in that role for how long? For a couple of years?
It depends on the market. If there comes an offer and it makes sense for all parties, then we sell.
When you find a good business that you see those two buying signals, either they want to stay on and grow, or they want to exit out, and you bring this package to Paul and Warren, your other guys, and you just kind of sit around the table and go, hey, is this a deal we want to pursue or what?
Yep. That's pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah. And then you guys now, Paul has a fund that he's created after selling that HR company. a few years back, or has that
Mhm.
grown?
So that's a great, extremely good question. We're currently raising a fund right now to go after, to go and acquire companies in different industries. One of them being food and beverage. So that's going to be 100 million euro fund. And then the other deals that we're doing is through leverage buyouts. So sometimes we'll plug in some equity on our side, plus the debt that you're able to get out of the current assets of the business and give that up front to the business owner, and have some deferred consideration just to protect the goodwill that the owner has built over the years, and for the best employee to not leave on day one, right at the end of the day.
Yeah. So how do you structure when somebody comes in and goes, yeah, I'll sell it. I got a $25 million business. And are you looking for, I'll come in at no money out of my pocket, your pocket,
Yep.
or are you going to put some kind of down payment and the rest is deferred compensation?
Are you asking me personally or Polentia?
Or both of you on both of your sides, because you bring these
Yeah.
deals to
Yeah.
Plentia, which is your fund now, right?
Yep. So through Opulentia, we'll look at. So first of all, the business owner has to have a realistic expectation. So a lot of business owners want a big payout on day one. That's something that we're not currently doing. Reason for it is, at the SME level, the risk tends to be on the owner himself having a lot of the goodwill within the company. Hence why we tend to give normally around 50% upfront and then 50% deferred. In terms of out of our own pocket, we do leverage. So we do leverage buyouts. So we'll utilize financial instruments like SBAs, normal bank debt through different banks in the UK where we've got a track record. We don't need to plug in the personal guarantee anymore. After you build a good foundation for yourself, banks want to lend you money, right? That's how they make money. So after a while, once you get a good track record, we're able to leverage the business up and give that as an upfront payment to the business owner himself, and then we do kind of like plug in the deferred consideration on a loan note, pretty much.
Yeah. And then it's from a bank, or is it, how often is it a seller note versus a bank note, or just it depends on whatever the situation is?
Yeah, it really depends. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And sometimes you'll use those assets as collateral for loans to also purchase the business, kind of the carve outs to also.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. So you're working on a grocery business now. How did you find a grocery business? Because sometimes when you're like, hey, I want to go after IT businesses, that's all you do is you send mailers to IT business, you reach out on LinkedIn, you do all that. But how did you come across a grocery business?
So that's the type of, it's not only groceries, but the type of companies that we go after tend to be traditional. So anything that's not sexy, we'll look at. And by not sexy, I mean not it
Not
hasn't
a
got
SaaS app, or not a fintech or anything.
Exactly. So we we see a lot of value in working with owners that, as I said, maybe from the baby boomer generation, they may be looking to retire. They've got a good business that supplies products to normal civilians that use it on an everyday basis. And within that category, there's obviously fresh produce. There's what else am I looking at right now? Insurance companies, taxi companies, transportation, construction.
Yeah, so those are very different KPIs and whatever rings the bells. I mean, how do you bring the expertise to either grow them or to say, or you just leave that in the back and say, okay, we're just going to acquire another insurance business to add onto your insurance business, because you don't need to be experts at growing your insurance by 30% a year.
Yeah. So one of the main things that I learned from Paul, actually the main thing is he's a manager. He's not a business owner. So he'll put in, he'll close the gaps where he doesn't have the knowledge with people that have the knowledge, so that he's able to spend his time on closing more and more deals. and he just puts the expertise where it needs to be. So, let's say that he's never going to know as much about insurance that someone that's been there for 20 years.
Right.
So we'll go and find someone that's been there for 20 years, give him some equity inside the business, and then have that compensation, or the alignment of interest happen accordingly in a way.
Just
So
curious, I mean, if you needed to find somebody insurance, how do you do that? You just go out like, well, he was a recruiter, right? He was an
exactly.
There you go.
Exactly, yeah.
I answered my own question.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, that's kind of handy skill to have to find right people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And this is a really big question that I get everybody with a lot of the M&A is like, how do you get paid? Are you guys on a distribution of profits? You come on at salary, or how, there's a lot of people that get in the M&A business and they acquire a business and they don't pay themselves anything. And then they go, well, I'm only going to get paid because we're going to increase the value of it and I'll sell it in 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's also a very good question. I mean, there's different ways in which we pay ourselves. On day one, we'll pay ourselves a deal fee. So sometimes you're able to leverage more of the assets that you're going to give up front. So you kind of like the difference between what you're able to leverage and what you're going to give the owner, you can take out as a deal fee. So as a compensation for yourself. So that's one. Then on a quarterly or annual basis, you're able to give yourself dividends. So on the shareholders agreement, we'll put in that we want to distribute a certain amount of dividends every single year to the shareholders on an equal basis. Our number tends to be as high as possible, quite honestly. So we can go up to 80%, just because our thought process is businesses are there to give us money, not to put money into. And then management fees, and then at the end of the day, where you make the big fat bell ring is at the end of the day when you exit, right?
Yeah. So what is the end goal here? Are you guys going to acquire? I mean, you got 16 from last year. You're going to probably hit 16 this year, and it's the insurance. There's grocery. There's all kinds of stuff. And that portfolio as a bundle, because I have a little experience with private equity funds. They're going to say, well, gosh, this is really diverse set of companies, and I don't have the skills and the management to be expert at each one of those. Yeah. But you're doing 250 million in revenue. That's fantastic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, our model is to buy and build. So buy a company in a certain industry and then plug in companies that make sense towards it in order to build a larger group. The end goal is to, and I was speaking to Paul the other day, is to try and build €1 billion kind of like $1 billion group, and then try and exit that over a 3-year period. So we do have the volume, but at the end of the day, it's about selling, because that's when you make the capital. That's when you make the money.
Big payouts with the double-digit multiples.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's going to come down the line. We're starting to generate conversations with potential buyers as well. And there's a lot of buyers, that may not want the entire portfolio, but may want one company. So we've got another one that we're looking to sell to this other company. So, if your company's doing well, there's buyers out there. And if you're able to facilitate that exit, or facilitate that buy-in from the buyer's side, it's a lot easier, which is something that a lot of people don't tend to look into, that are currently selling their business for the first time.
Yeah.
So
how long do you see the process normally taking with an acquisition?
From
sending a mailer out to email to having that first conversation?
It would be, if it's email or LinkedIn, probably like 2 to 3 days. If it's mail, probably a week. And then from the first conversation towards closing, if the business owner is motivated, it'll take you between 8 to 12 weeks.
And motivate, how did you define motivated? They're just sick and tired of managing all the bills and the people and everything else.
Yeah, 100%. So that's one. Sick and tired. They wanted to travel to another country, and they've got this business here. They want to exit. Some of them just want to retire. Other times, sadly enough, it's health issues. So some business owners, have reached an age where they've got some health issues, or they're young but they have some issues going on, and that prevents them from running the business effectively, and they want to exit and capitalize on their value created. And that's kind of like the three main reasons.
Yeah. And then when you bring the deal package, you're kind of in the bucket of like, I like the deal flow, and then you bring it to Paul and Warren, and you guys like, hey, is this a green light or red thumb, or should we make an offer on it?
Yeah. Once I kind of know now what is going to work and what it isn't, just because of the experience that I've built. But at the beginning, it was more of a, let me introduce you deals and see what works, what doesn't. Now you can I can have a glimpse, on a company, and I'll know whether it's going to work or not.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Who handles like the integration bucket, or let me like this way, who handles the negotiation part of it, saying, hey, we think that the valuation on this business for this grocery business tulip is X amount. And then, the guy that's selling it thinks it's worth X times 5, and you're kind of way off. Who handles that negotiation part?
So before we give the number, we give the reason why we got to that number. And we show data and facts as to how we got to that number. So we don't want to overpay, but we don't want to underpay.
Right.
So we're like in the middle point.
Well, what do you mean underpay being it would be insulting to him, or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you want to respect what they've built over the years. Obviously there's some, good offers out there, and you want to capitalize on that. But overall, if we're going to come in cold and give an offer, we'll look at kind of like medium multiples within that industry. And you
So
just
it's a 3 multiple. I'm not a guy that quibbles between a 3 and a 3.2, because it's usually only a couple months difference of cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes
you want a partner in this guy. If he's going to stay on, you want him as a partner. You want him to be happy. Everybody's got to come away walking like, hey, I feel like successful in this negotiation.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, you're not gonna go very far if you don't do win-win deals, right?
Yeah.
So we just reason it. We've got very good deal flow. And if sometimes the business owner just says, yeah, I want 10 times what you're gonna pay me. Well, it was good to meet you. Let's shake hands and see in a couple months' time if you've had any offers.
Yeah, this is funny, because I just had this conversation with somebody in my mastermind on Facebook this morning. The guy thinks it's worth this. This is this very first time anybody's offered him anything. And I said, well, he's just not motivated. He's going to go through this discovery process of figuring out, oh my God, somebody's just offering me money. Let me go find out on Google what my business is worth. And he's either going to say, well, wow, it's not worth what I think it's worth. I'm going to just keep the business.
Yeah.
Rarely does he sell, oh my God, it's worth what the seller is. I need to sell. That's what doesn't happen. But they may come back around. You just got to have so many of those deals in your deal flow. Yeah.
It's a long-term game. I would say if you want to be successful in this game, give it 5 to 10 years. Just because, when you start the conversations, that's when people start generating the interest about selling. Then they have the expectations up here. Time goes through, they don't start generating kind of offers, and at some point you meet their threshold, and that's when the deal happens. Do you guys does Paul and you have the same deal team working with you as far as like attorneys and accountants? Is it the same people? Yeah, same people, and they work on a contingency basis. So we if the deal happens, then we'll get paid. If it doesn't happen, then we don't. No one gets paid. So
is it an attorney or something that's licensed in Europe and Australia and England and everywhere and United States, or is it?
So Paul takes charge of that side of things. So I'd rather have the conversation with him before I confirm. But for each jurisdiction, we would have our own lawyers, pretty much, and the way in which we work with them would be same model at the end of the day, which is.
When you do a deal, you find a deal, and it's on your own, right? You find a deal and they say, okay, this guy wants to sell, and everybody gives it a green light. Do you create, in the United States, we would create, let's say, a holding company and a bunch of LLCs under that. How does that done in like UK and Spain and everywhere where you got Paul's in Australia right now, right?
Yeah. Pretty much the same way. We'll create, like, we've got a holding company, and then we'll create SPVs, we call them. So like little companies.
Yep.
And we make the acquisitions through the SPVs, because you want to protect kind of like the holding company, right? You want to protect the different companies within the group.
Yeah. And you guys would just say, every time you bring a deal, is it, I brought the deal, it's 15, 25%, you guys get 75%, et cetera. And then keep doing it over and over again. Yeah,
exactly. Rinse and repeat.
Wash, right. Do you have the goals of saying, I'd like more of the deal to get involved in other buckets of expertise?
I mean, right now I don't have I will want more of deals, obviously, but right now my focus is more on learning and on adding value to companies. And as I personally, at least, grow as an M&A person, then I'll look to do my own deals. I'll look to partner up 50-50 with other people, with Paul. That's kind of like the vision, I think.
Yeah. So I got a question. This is kind of personal, but what do you think your worth? Like, this is clickbait because everybody loves this. How much has your worth changed? Net worth changed in the last 2-3 years working with Paul? It's gone up.
It's going up, definitely. I would have to be extremely honest. I haven't capitalized on any of it, so the shareholder value is starting to build up.
It was like Warren Buffett, and if you look at this figure, I mean, he's
exactly.
a millionaire at I think 50 years old. It's only between 60 and 80 has he become the multi-billionaire.
Exactly. It's going up. It's going. I'd rather keep it for myself.
No, I don't need a number on that. I just it's kind of a clickbait thing, and where, like, this is one of the fastest ways to build wealth is acquiring a business with existing revenue.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's super exciting because you talk to different business owners all day long. You get to try and, like, it's kind of like a game, right? You're like playing your game, you're trying to sell things, you get offered, like the offer accepted, then rejected, then like, oh shit, well, did that happen? Why did that happen? Then you come back, you try and change your way of pitching. It's super, super exciting.
So what's the craziest request from? Sometimes the seller wants a very specific thing, like, hey man, I don't really care, I just want a boat, or I just want a great watch, or something like that.
So there was this funny story where there was an engineering company. The owner was around 65, and I was sounding like, what? So why do you want to sell? And he was like, well, I'm just fucking tired, mate. So I was like, okay. I just want to, and then after saying that, he was like, I just want to go on a caravan down to the south of Spain and enjoy myself over there. That's literally his own request.
Yeah.
So, in the UK, like, the weather tends to be quite bad, to be honest. It's always raining and so on. So there's a lot of people that go down to the south of Spain where the weather is super nice. You get 25 degrees every single day. So that's what he wanted to do. And I was like, okay, let's try and create a deal structure that will give you that.
Was it in monetary value, like just cash, or did you set them up with a place there and pay for the whole thing?
Well, I mean,
The
a good.
reason I asked that is, let me give you an example. I had this buddy buying an engineering floor in Florida, and he found out the woman selling, who took over for her husband who died, was a big lover of cats. And I said, he called me up and I said, well, put something in the offer. Well, you will fund, cat lover farm or something. Pay for that.
Wow.
You know, empathetic, sympathetic way of like helping her out.
That's a funny request. That's an interesting one.
Well, I got this other one was I have a buddy that made an offer on a chicken e-commerce company, huge business.
Okay.
He said, I'm only selling it to somebody that loves chickens. They gotta love chickens.
And did he sell it or?
No, he passed on it.
I love,
He goes, I don't love chickens that much. I love the revenue, but I don't love chickens that much.
yeah. I love eating them. I can tell you.
Lively eggs and stuff like that. Yeah. Hey, look, Matthew, I know that we didn't have a lot of time here. How are we doing on time?
We're good. I've got 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. So what do your parents think of what you're doing now? They're like, oh gosh, my son, the Richard Branson of
not yet. But I mean, they see I'm very focused on what I'm doing. I was back in the office at 1 a.m. back from the office at 1 a.m. yesterday. Super focused on like building a large thing over the next 10 to 15 years and try and set myself up for life pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So they see that I'm working extremely hard and they like that, right? I'm also building a part-time business as well, which could be quite interesting for some of the audience, which is around generating deal flow for other M&A companies. So that's starting to build up.
Tell us about it. What is it? What are you doing?
Yeah. So it's what I found was that there's a lot of companies with like boutique companies that know how to structure the deals, know how to operate those companies, but don't have the deal flow. And at the end of the day, if you don't have deal flow, you don't have a business.
Yeah, we've got 900 members in our mastermind. That's the number one request is deal flow.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing right now for other firms. So boutiquetasks.com is the name of the company.
Boutiquetask.com.
So boutique as like boutique.
Yeah.
And then tasks as like tasks, things to do.
Okay.
.com.
Okay. I'll put that in the YouTube and all the links there. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And pretty much the only focus is on scaling like private equity firms up through contacting decision makers in the markets in which they want to enter and generating deal flow.
Yeah.
So I'm working with 2 other private equity firms on that side. One is in the US and the other one is in London. And the results are there. So if anyone
monthly fee to do that, or
whatever, very flexible in terms of what the price could be or how to structure that. It's normally a recurring revenue or recurring kind of fee on a monthly basis to begin with. And as they see the results happening, we could do like lead by lead, or we could look at other ways of structuring that.
Yeah, just curious, how often do you keep up in touch with people in your deal flow funnel? I mean, you reach out with a letter or an email or LinkedIn, and then do you put them in a CRM system and keep contacting automatically, or is that just hey, I need to contact this guy, it's in your deal, and send him a
So that's a really good question. I've got Pipedrive as a CRM. And Pipedrive is pretty much, you're able to look at your pipeline. We get initially we get 2 contacts. One is once we send out the request, they'll come back. If they come back, then we'll add it to Pipedrive. We'll have 2 kind of like messages sent out. If they reply to that and we get on the call, then they're in like the book a call column. Once we get to the book a call, we'll put them into the NDA send, account received, then proposal stage. And then on the proposal, they'll either accept the proposal or they won't. Those that don't want to accept the proposal, we'll add them to a revisit column, and we'll have every 6 months, we'll send them a follow-up saying, hey, would you be interested in chatting through what we had a conversation about 6 months ago, or not? And those that, it's about having, consistent deal flow, being on top of mind of those business owners.
Is that now to build a pipeline for deal flow through you, or is it like independent, saying, hey, do your own financing, do your own negotiation, integration, everything else?
Would that be through boutique tasks or through?
Yeah, if they went through the boutique task, would it kind of be a pipeline to you? And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I mean, Roland Fraser has Epic Group, and he's got 1,000 people sending them deal flow, which is fantastic.
Right? Yeah. So if someone were to come in as a client, they would have their own pipeline, and all the deals would be just for himself. If he wanted me to, work on some of the deals, we could also do that. But ideally, kind of the situation would be to try and build up a pipeline for himself, so they can have recurrent opportunities coming to his desk in a way.
Yeah, the only really way to get good at this is do more of it. I mean, you can't
100%.
have this like one deal coming every month and negotiate. It's just not enough volume.
I mean, just to give you an idea, in order to close 16 companies, we're talking between Goran and I, which is kind of like our role within Opulentia. We talk to around 3 new companies each every single day.
Every single day. And then how many people are you mailing, emailing, LinkedIning?
Thousands
every day.
Yeah, not every day, but like every week. Yeah,
every week. Yeah, I believe it. And you buying lists from wherever it is, Info USA or wherever that company is. You're mailing them, and interesting. Hey, I know we're out of time, Matthew. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this.
And with you,
kind of a plug for this. If you guys like what you're hearing, please subscribe onto the button below. Matthew, have a great day in Spain, and great workout the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you, John. Hoping to connect with the audience. If you want to have a chat, very open to having a chat, discussing anything. If anyone needs to, from a young person's point of view, or a more experienced one, if they need someone like Paul to come into the conversations and so on. So
I gotta tell you, if you're going to be on the planet for another 20 years, watch this guy, because he may be the next Richard Branson.
Let's see.
Let's see. All right. Thank you very much, Matthew. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.